No. Mommy might though. All right, I think so. Let's do it.
You're up, Jason.
Welcome to Dad Bods, Crab Cakes, and Sports, where husky middle aged men share insights on the latest Baltimore sports news. From the bank to the yard and beyond, we're breaking down the Ravens, Orioles, Terps, and more. Baltimore's best sports podcast starts now. All right, fellas. John, Jason, and Mike here for another splendid evening of talking about. I don't even know where to start. I mean, what a crazy 48 to 72 hours, guys. I mean, we went from being very excited to the Terps making a run to potentially the Elite Eight and Final Four to now having to restart the entire basketball program and try to find a new head coach. Mike, where do we start? I mean, is your hair falling out? Mine's falling out. I can't tell you.
I mean, my hair's falling out, but that's nothing to do with Terps. The I just going into that game, it was so frustrating to hear all the rumors about Kevin Willard, but like just to have it all just disintegrate right in front of you, and thinking about now we have to do a complete rebuild because Juju's gone anyway. We knew Derek Queen was probably going to go to the NBA. I assume that's still going to happen. You got Miguel, who's gone. He's a senior. And, I'm guessing that Gillespie and Rice are going to hit the transfer portal. So the Crab Five are no longer. They are nil.
You text me during the game once things started turning in Florida's favor. And my initial reaction, I'll get to your question in a second, but my initial reaction to it was like, no. Like, no, absolutely not. Like, why would that make a difference? Like, some of these guys are on their last year anyway. Some of these guys are one and done. It doesn't matter. What you asked, Mike, was Kevin Willard leaving? Did that impact the way they were playing? And once I took a step back, it absolutely had an effect on the way that these kids played. And the one thing I've been saying for the last 6 months, if anyone's been listening to me, is that they're 17 and 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids. Like, they're kids. Like, when you give up on, like, confidence is so important at that age, and believing in somebody. And I mean, I've been there, you've been there, like maybe not at that level, but like having someone believe in you changes the way that, not just in sports, but the way that you do things in life. And when someone gives up on you and says they're going to step away and there's these rumors, it absolutely freaking made a difference. And what a terrible, I'm actually just pissed off now. I really am. Because like they had this opportunity that only comes, sometimes it comes once every 10, 15, 20 years. And it gets overshadowed and thrown out the door because we can't keep our mouths shut for like 2-week period. John, I don't know how you feel, but I'm actually just mad. I'm angry. I'm not sad about it. I'm just pissed off.
Yeah, the whole thing just makes me very, very upset. You have a once in a lifetime freshman and a way to lead this team, which I felt, and Mike and I both, I think we thought a little bit with our hearts, but I think it wasn't all heart. It was some head that the Terps could go to the Final Four, but without a doubt, and could have beat the Florida Gators. But I think you kind of saw it. The first half, they were just out there and playing hard, and we were down I think 2 at half, 1 at half, and then in the second half we just imploded. And I think some of that was was due to that. And I think we just had a wasted one season. We knew we were getting Queen for 1 year, and I think we just wasted the season. And the way the NCAA do this, like your rant the other night, Jason, as I thought about what you were talking about, I'm like, this is absolutely the dumbest thing of all time. You should not be able to talk to other coaches, recruit players on teams, or anything until you're done, till the season's over. And it just in fact pissed me off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not this old curmudgeon that's like, no, coaches shouldn't be able to leave, and no, players shouldn't be able to make money in college sports, and they shouldn't be able to go. If we're going to do it this way, but you got to tighten this. I almost cussed. Sorry. We got to tighten this
Well,
crap.
FCC doesn't monitor podcasts, so
I know, but
you're
I don't
free
want.
to
I
say
mean,
what you want.
our kids might want to watch this one day. I don't know. I don't want to be a douche tool. But listen, I mean, you got to tighten this crap up. This cannot go on this way. But if the players want to make as much money as possible, by all means they should. If the coaches want to make as much money as possible, by all means they should. That's an NCAA issue. My issue right now with all this is Kevin Willard. What a crock of crap. Because you can leave by all means. I think coaches should better themselves and players should better themselves. But the way you did it, running your mouth to leverage yourself, like now I'm 100% on board now thinking that he did all of this to leverage himself for the best possible deal. Mike, I could be wrong because I am jumping to a little bit of an assumption here, but like the way that it was handled, just keep your mouth shut for another week and then go about your business.
Yeah, I mean, it's very tough because like you said, Jason, that we're dealing with 20-year-old kids, and just to see them have to react in the moment. I mean, I'm a grown adult and I still have issues handling situations that are adverse like that. And so when you throw a 20-year-old into that situation without the time to press pause, like you had said, maybe there wasn't an issue during the game, but I'm thinking about like the night before a game. Like he didn't show up to dinner the night before the game. So what are Gillespie and Rice thinking? Like they're like, oh, are we coming back to Maryland next year? Are we going to Villanova? Or where are we going next year? Something like that is running through a kid's head the night before the biggest game of their life. And then you wonder why they don't perform. Or maybe a guy like Selton Miguel who didn't score a point in that game. Maybe there was a little bit of, what's going on? Where's my confidence? Where's my coach? Who knows? We can't get into the mind of those kids. But you can't tell me that there was no impact whatsoever on that game just because Willard decided he couldn't wait till after the season to take care of his own business. To me, that's horse crap. It really is, because there's no reason you can't do everything you wanted to do and just wait 2 weeks. Actually, you only needed to wait 48 hours probably, and you would have been fine. So that's the biggest issue for me is let's, like you said, John, let's get this stuff taken care of after the postseason. I mean, if you think about the NFL, if it was a free-for-all, during the postseason, there's already enough rumors about, assistant coaches getting head coach interviews and that kind of stuff. And that stuff's hard enough on these professional athletes that are 30 years old. Now you're asking 20-year-old amateur kids to deal with that. I think it's too much.
Well, okay, so let's take a step back to something you said, Mike. I did read where there was something said about him not showing up for dinner. When I read the article, though, I took it with a grain of salt because I didn't know if it was speculation. I mean, was it true that he really didn't show up to the team dinner the night before the game? Has that been confirmed?
On CBSSports.com, it looks like he was not at dinner, according to this article that I read.
Did his dog die? Was one of his kids sick? Did he have a death in the family? Because what type of human being are you to not show up? Like, if you miss a team meeting, we suspend kids. What in the effing crap is going on that you think that you can go ahead and just skip a team dinner like that when you are the head of the team? I don't even know what to say. I mean, it's just coming out to me that this guy is actually just a piece of work. And maybe we're better off. Maybe I'm out of line. I don't know. But I'm mad because it just doesn't make any sense. Like,
well,
I don't even
Jason,
know Jason,
here's what pissed me off was as I'm reading this article, it's like 8 or 10 scrolls. So it's like a 8-minute read. But Willard he's trying to play a victim at the end. He was complaining about the situation of his own making. Quote, and I quote Willard, "I understand fans are going to be pissed because I'm in limbo and this and that. I get it. Like, I'm kind of pissed, to be honest with you, because they didn't expect to be in this situation. But you put yourself in this situation. And then how much do we blame Evans for this? Not giving him the things that he needed or wanted before and then skipping out of town and going to SMU. Like, that's my thing is part of this, I believe, is on the outgoing athletic director for knowing, like, they couldn't stay an extra night in New York to celebrate Christmas. The athletic director said, "Nope, you got to get back here. We don't have the money for it." Little
Yeah,
things like that. And this article just goes into all this stuff.
I mean, that situation itself is a dumpster fire and very pathetic, just as an entire um, school, an entire administration. However, Mike and I have talked about this numerous times. Before Willard even got there, the reason why Maryland went into the Big Ten was because they were a financial dumpster fire. And they went for a money grab to the Big Ten to essentially save their school and to save their athletics. And I don't know if they've ever recovered fully from that. I mean, are they even, they might still be paying Turgeon, for Christ's sake. I don't even know. But when you're in a situation like that, you start pinching pennies, and you don't know we don't know the relationship between Evans and Willard. It could have been a rocky one where he was like, "No, dude, you're not going anywhere. Why do I let you do that? Like, I don't let any of the other coaches do that." But as dumb as it sounds, like, why wouldn't you just let him do it? But to me, there could be more to that. And he's obviously trying to throw coal on that fire to get that to come up more. I mean, Mike, I don't know what else to say with this. To me, it's like, I don't, kind of what I just said though. Like, after saying all of this, listening to what I have to say, which clearly is whatever, but do you want a guy like this to be around to coach your kids? Like, what do you want?
I have to think that maybe part of his personality is probably what made him successful as well. I mean, there's got to be a level of, I just think, brashness or courage that it takes to kind of speak your mind. That's probably refreshing to kids. And I don't know if that was part of the appeal of Kevin Willard. But there is a piece of you that's like, man, that is really skeezy. It like the way that he handled the situation. He got his AD fired, basically, it seems like. I mean, on the outside looking in, that's kind of what it feels like. And then he hauled rear end up north, up 95 to Philadelphia. So, like, I don't understand exactly what went down. All I know is that I'm a Terps fan, and we're left with the pieces to put back together. And we don't have an athletic director to lead a head coaching search right now. So, and what worries me is, like you said, Jason, with the board of directors or whatever, whoever's running the school, like, what is the order of operations here? What is that going to look like? How long does it take to find an athletic director? Are you going to hire your athletic director before you hire your head basketball coach to make sure your athletic director likes your head basketball coach? And then how far behind does that put you from the other programs in the Big Ten with the transfer portal and all the other issues that go along with recruiting? It seems to me like you're going to be way, way behind those other schools, and next year might just be a wash.
I mean, I do like, they have formed a committee. That committee, if it's the same committee as last time, it has Gary Williams. I think it has Loxley on it. It has obviously the chancellor, the president, all those guys on it, and females. But I don't know. I've heard, as far as the AD goes, that they were looking at like Dominique Foxworth. I don't know if you guys read that. He used to play for the Ravens, went to University of Maryland, but he was the head of the NFLPA, and he was also the head of the NBA's. I didn't know you could do that, but he was the head of the Players Association of the NBA.
That as well, Jason. That intrigued me very much as to how are you the head of, but I guess, I don't know.
I mean, and then if you look at Sashi Brown, like, this side note, I'm going off on a tangent, but Sashi Brown with the Ravens was he with the Wizards? I think he was the the vice
NBA.
president of the Wizards in the NBA. Yeah. So it's like these guys can cross over because they know business. And I know that Dominique Foxworth, I believe he has a master's in MBA as well. So, I mean, if that's the direction they go, that's fine. I know he bleeds Terp red. But I guess that brings us now to, like, Mike, you and I talked a couple minutes after this, John, after you had to go, but who's next? And I've seen this list of guys, and I don't want any of them. I guess maybe one or two, but like Buzz Williams, Dwayne Simpkins, like, I'll let you take it over, because clearly you're reading something off of there. You tell me.
I don't know. But the buzzword is Buzz Williams. He wants the job. That's the biggest thing we've heard. Like, I think he's chomping at the bit to get back to the to a prestigious program like Maryland that's a basketball first school. Texas A&M's plays in the SEC, but that's a football first school down there, and I think he wants to be with a basketball first school. So he was the first name. Another interesting one to me was Tony Skinn, who was on staff and helped recruit Derek Queen. But he's intriguing to me because he knows how to recruit and he's familiar with the Maryland program. He's at George Mason right now. And he did a nice job there getting them to I believe he got them to the tournament. I don't know if it was this year or last year, back-to-back 20-win seasons. But recruiter. But no, I'm not enamored by any of the guys. Simpkins, I heard his name as well. But who I would talk to? Talk to Brenda Fries about what's going on. Like, she has managed to be successful there, and I know it's a different, it's a different level when it comes to male and female athletics, unfortunately, because of the finances of it. But success-wise, the Lady Terps have been successful for 20 years. So I would be curious to what Brenda had to say about the finances and the NIL, and I'm sure she would have a good perspective on how the male program's been going as well.
And I do think she is on both committees, the AD committee and the head coach committee, to help choose both those. John, you want to say something?
Yeah, Steve Blake. I would be very intrigued to see somebody like Steve Blake step in. He's been an assistant the last 5 years with the Suns and the Trailblazers, and then he on X said something to the effect of, "Thanks, Willard, for your work at the school, but I'm interested in the job. I hope somebody calls me." With somebody like that, with a backstory with the university, with the team, with everything he did for the school, on that 2002 team, would somebody like that be worthwhile to get in? Somebody who knows the ins and outs of University of Maryland.
So much has changed since then. I mean, of course, I think any diehard Maryland Terps fan would jump all over that, including myself to an extent. But I think where you were kind of going down the same road we did with Gary Williams. Like, Gary was a former player there, and then he came back to save his alma mater. But when he did that, though, he had a good amount of time already at Ohio State. Steve Blake hasn't been a head coach anywhere yet. I think with the day and age now, you almost need somebody that's been involved in college athletics and college basketball for a little bit to be able to jump in and take that place. I mean, like Mike said, Tony Skinn to me is actually was one of the top three that I had on here. One of the other ones I have on there, probably to the front, would be Porter Moser from Oklahoma. Now, I don't know if he'd be willing to come over from there. But then the University of Maryland, I don't know if they'd do the buyout that it would cost for him to come from the Big 12 either. They might not be able to afford it. And then I can't remember his first name, but Bill Murray's son is an assistant at UConn. That might be one of the new hot coaching names. Not this year. Yeah, Luke. Not this year, but next year. So maybe they jump a year ahead of time. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. Like, they're not getting John Calipari. They're not getting Rick Pitino. They're not getting anybody like that. So all like the big established names, I don't see that happening. More of an up and coming situation again. But
if I'm not mistaken, Jason, I think that they had to buy out Willard, correct? I think it was a small term to buy out.
Had to buy him out?
Yeah, Villanova had to buy out Willard. So they should be able to at least, that should help to mitigate some buyout money if they have to buy somebody out.
Now, I don't know what type of bonuses Moser hit at Oklahoma for making the tournament in his first year, anything like that. I haven't looked at that. But that was probably the most intriguing name on there besides Skinn. And then, like I said, Bill Murray's son, which already sounds terrible that I can't remember the guy's name, but I know him as Bill Murray's son.
Luke Murray. Luke Murray at UConn.
I don't know, man. I'll be honest with you. They better figure it out freaking soon because as my rant last week, the transfer portal is live and well, and we're already in trouble. We're already behind the eight ball. And Mike, I don't want to throw in the towel for next year. That's stupid. I
I think the only hope too is that if you get somebody, they bring their guys with them. So like if you get a Buzz Williams, maybe that you get a couple transfers from Texas A&M. So I think that's kind of your only hope at this point. Um, I don't know what to say other than they need to make an expeditious decision about their basketball coach, or else they're going to be way behind in the recruiting process and way behind in the transfer portal. And in the Big Ten, that's a nightmare because now there are 18 teams and 17 of them have a jump start on you. So good luck.
Yeah, and I mean it's really tough. I mean, as far as that goes, it's I mean we have 4 teams left in the tournament, and they're, like I said, recruiting. Some of those assistants already aren't even at their games anymore because they're out on the recruiting road because they're trying to grab these kids, and we don't even have a staff. So, and it sucks just thinking about it. I mean, speaking of those final 4 teams, though, as of going into next week, we have Florida, Auburn, and then Duke and Houston. So all 4 number 1 seeds. One of us did pick all 4 of those. I mean, it wasn't anything. I mean, it's as chalk can get. So I don't want to like pat myself on the back here, but to me,
do you really not want to pat yourself on the back?
Really, I don't feel good about it. I really don't, because it was one of those things, and I said it when the tournament started. It's just that they're the best teams. These are the 4 best teams, and then we take a step back, and then there's these other 2 teams. Then we take a step, and there's these other 2 teams. But these 4 teams are the best in the country, and this is kind of what I think the NCAA football guys want to have happen as well. They want the 4 best teams to play every year. And in basketball, it's funny. We had this giant tournament, and the 4 best teams are still standing, John. I mean, that's, to me, it's pretty good if that's the way you mapped it out.
Yeah, I think the way that the selection committee did it this year, there wasn't anything huge upset. There was maybe one team in West Virginia who was left out that, maybe has a very good argument of being in there. But unlike the football where, Florida State a couple years ago was left out and should have been in there, they picked pretty well. I mean, Florida had some rough games. Maryland, if they had played with the intensity in the second half, they would have played in the first half. They could have won that game, or their game last night even was they pulled that one out by the skin of their teeth. The Hunter missed the 1 kill shot, on the Gator. But I think, Jason, you were right in saying that. We talked about this several weeks ago when the brackets came out. Number 1 seeds, this could be the first time since I think 2008 that this could happen, and it did end up happening. So I think they made very good choices, and it's been good basketball. It hasn't been too many, huge blowout games, except the ones that you would expect.
Right. And it's funny because if you look at the 4 teams that are left, and I know, John, what was your exact phrase? Ken Palm, Schmem Palm? When I said, I mean, all of these teams that are left are very high-ranked Ken Palm teams. And, I mean, that guy's got this down to something. I mean, when you have such a high offense and defensive efficiency, these teams always seem to get through all of this. And like right now, if you look, Duke is playing probably the best out of all the teams, but there is something to be said about teams being tested during the tournament, being able to get through. So for me, Florida and Houston, both of those teams had a couple scares, and then they rebounded huge. Well, Florida squeaked by, but then Houston got through. But then today, Auburn kind of went ahead and took care of business right away after having a couple close games. So, I mean, all 4 teams, it's a coin flip for me. I don't know how you think, Mike, but for me, it could go in any direction.
No, you're the top 4 teams in the country. I mean, honestly, if you look at the Elite 8, it was all 1s and 2s except for Texas Tech, who was a 3. I mean, the committee has to be elated at their seeding process because it worked out really well this year. But you were right, Jason. There was a clear line between even the 1s and the 2 seeds. Like the 2 seeds were 10 points different than the 1 seeds. And I think what I saw watching those games was I didn't watch enough basketball this year out of out of Maryland because Duke is really good. And I saw them kind of kick it into extra gear against Alabama. And then watching Florida in that comeback against Texas Tech, it made me feel a little bit better about the Maryland loss. Those guys are on a different level. And it's not just because they have a few good players. They are just a deep, deep team. Some of their big guys aren't even that highly touted. But the Hawk guy who hit a couple shots, even, just the little dirty plays that happened inside that some of those guys were doing, like just fantastic. The Kneppel guy from Duke, just the footwork that he had in the lane the other night when I was watching, I'm like, these guys are on a different planet. So I think any of the four teams, has a fighting shot. They're all a little bit different profile wise. Houston's more defensive oriented. They all obviously can do both, but I don't know. We all have picks. I think I had Houston in our bracket. But come on, man. I think we're splitting hairs at this point.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it's funny to me, Houston obviously is the best defensive team in the country, right? And they played Tennessee today, who's the number 3 highest ranked defensive team in the country. And I think the most underrated defensive team in the country is Duke, who after Alabama just destroyed BYU in so many different ways. If you watch Duke, they were able to say, okay, that's fine. Like they can beat a team like BYU, but Duke completely took them out of whatever they wanted to do to force them to do what they wanted them to do. So to me, I think that Houston Duke game is going to be maybe more of a low scoring game. It's going to be a very good basketball game. But I do think with Houston's defense, I mean, I think Duke can match up with them defensively as well. So to me, a coin flip. And then if you go to the other side, I like Florida a lot. Obviously, you guys know how I feel about it. I mean, I picked them as my national champion. But Auburn,
you do live there also. Just wanted to say you guys both live there. So
I heard, yeah, Mike, I'm just not that guy. I can't cheer for a team just because I live there. I won't do it. I won't.
Well, I'm just saying you like Florida, obviously, because you live there.
Just not the team, but yes.
Okay, yeah, but the state, right? Overall, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how do you feel, John? Like, what are your thoughts here? I mean, what is your? Would you change now with the final 4 teams? What is your prediction on the teams to make it to the finals, and who's your overall winner?
I still think it's Houston. I still think that they have the more experience than all the other schools combined when it comes to this stage. And I mean, they're all number 1 seeds for a reason. You're like you said, you're splitting hairs. You could literally flip a coin and probably be right more often with the coin flip than with the odds on the basketball game. But I just think that the selection committee did an again, like I said a few minutes ago, they did an outstanding job, and these 3 teams are, the best in the country, and nobody got here by luck. Nobody, got, like we had past years where, a 6 seed, an 8 seed, a 10 seed has gotten into the Elite 8 because, somebody got hurt on a previous game, somebody hit a lucky 3/4 court shot, things like this. But this year, nothing like that has happened. And it's clearly shown who the men are and who the boys are. And I think, among the men, I think I like Auburn and I like Houston, but I just think the experience with Houston is still going to be the deciding factor. And, Florida played well, but look, Florida almost got beat 2 times. The other, and, what will that do for them next weekend? It could be a great thing, or it could be you know what, guys, don't let this happen again. And then you shoot yourself in the foot.
I mean, like I said, John, though, I mean, I agree 100% with what you said. The one thing I will add to that, though, is just, again, what I had said a few minutes ago, that being tested within the tournament speaks volumes as well. I mean, you're now the whole world, they're watching all the games, but now all the eyes are on these specific games. And so far, Florida's been able to rise up there. So, I mean, I'm obviously going to stick with my picks of Florida and Houston, and then Florida over Houston. Mike, would you change anything, or are you still sticking with what you have?
No, I have Auburn and Houston, but like you said, I could easily see. I mean, Duke shut down Alabama. I think Alabama made 25 3-pointers in the previous game. Like, one of the most high octane offenses in the country. So if they can shut down Alabama, there's no reason they couldn't hang with Houston. So that wouldn't surprise me. And then, like you said, John, with Florida, they're battle tested, right? They've had their back against the wall. They faced the adversity. They really should have lost that Texas Tech game, and they pulled it out. And sometimes, like you said, you need a near miss to win a national championship. So if that's their near miss, maybe they come out and they sort some things out and realize and take that new life moving forward. And they could easily beat Auburn. But I'm going to stick with what I picked because you know what? Why not just let it ride at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you guys. I mean, it's so far the tournament hasn't disappointed as far as excitement. I know some folks, they love the upsets. And one other quick subject I wanted to bring up, because I know it's been a topic throughout this whole tournament. It's, did the NIL money ruin the Cinderellas? And I'm going to say no. I don't think it has. I just think that this year it's the teams that are good are just better. And I just I think there will be Cinderellas here over the next year and the years after. But no, Mike, I would not say that the NIL has came in and just destroyed the tournament as far as there not being upsets. I don't believe that.
No, I'm with you, Jason. I think the only thing that's really changed is now those guys who come in and are part of those Cinderella squads become part of Blue Bloods the next year. They're all transfer portal and then become names that we know about the following year. But there's still misses when it comes to recruiting. And those guys, they carry their teams for these smaller schools, and then they end up now just kind of springboarding them into the next level of their career. That's kind of what you're seeing. But it's a little bit different. You could argue maybe that there are a few less of those guys, but there's always going to be some misses in recruiting.
For sure. And what about you, John? How do you feel about NIL changing the tournament? John?
Sorry, my internet froze up. But Mike, I was just gonna make a comment on yours. You know how was it 2011 or it was 2010, 2011 when Butler made it to the championship game 2 times in a row? I think it was 2010, 2011. Like you said, that's not going to happen. The Gordon Hayward is going to be gone. He's going to be, he's going to be at a Power 5 school and being paid, $5-10 million to transfer. So sure, you might have one good year, but a back-to-back Cinderella like a Butler is not going to happen just because, the schools are going to pony up the money. And I think that's part of just going back to our original topic. I think that's part of the reason Willard left was they just weren't getting enough NIL money, or he didn't feel like they were getting enough NIL money to attract, the big guys there. But no, but I think 1 year Cinderella is going to happen again, but a 2 year Cinderella, it can't. It just won't.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about the same school though, and you're talking about a 2 year Cinderella, what does that mean though? If one school comes out and they're a Cinderella and they make a long run, but yet other kids around the country, high schoolers and people in the transfer portal are paying attention to this, they decide to go to that school. Why can't they be a Cinderella again? You know what I mean, John?
I get it. But the money, a Butler is not going to have the money that a University of Indiana or an Ohio State or a Duke is going to have and be able to shell out.
So all of these teams. So let's talk about Houston. Let's talk about Duke. Let's talk about Alabama. These teams have all been very good for the last 5 or 6 years. I mean, this is really just at the beginning of the NIL thing. So I think regardless of NIL was a thing or not, these coaches are still going to attract these kids, Mike. I don't think the NIL all of a sudden, yeah, they might get this one player over another, but I don't think they're buying whole rosters. They're still able to go out and recruit. Look at Tom Izzo, for Christ's sake. Like these big name guys are still able to stay relevant even with all this NIL money going all over the place.
Well, I just think there's more factors in recruiting than just NIL money. I mean, there's also where is that school? Like what is the degree? I hope that some of these students aren't thinking just about sports, but I know a lot of them are. But like, maybe someone wants to be in sunny Florida like you gentlemen live right now, and maybe that's an attraction to a player. But yeah, the coaches is part of that as well. Like, do they have a long history of winning? Are they the system that they run? Does it fit the athlete? There are definitely pieces that a good, smart young man should take a look at before they decide on a school. But as we all know, money usually is the end all be all when it comes to the final say. Like you said, Jason, I think there's still the opportunity for multiple Cinderellas, but you're going to see more roster turnover from year to year. And that's not just at the small schools, that's at all the schools. So, yeah, look at Gonzaga. I mean, they started as a Cinderella, and that shortchanged over the course of 20 years. So it's nothing to be said that that can't be done again, but it's going to be more like that, where the roster is going to be different each and every year if that does happen.
Well, you look at Calipari when he was at Kentucky, where he was having a turnover every year because he would lose his five top freshmen to the NBA draft. So like you said, Mike, I think some of these coaches just can continue to attract at least the freshmen to keep coming, because of the track records of NBA or NIL money or, whatever comes up down the road in 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, and Cal still had some of the top freshmen in the entire country. And I mean, it took them halfway through the year to get going, but once they did, they proved that they they were a basket away from moving on to the Elite Eight. I mean,
Oh, can we talk about that for 1 second? I'm not a big sports bettor, but before I went to bed that evening, I put 3 shekels, let's just say 3 fictitious shekels, down on an overtime game, the over on the score. Both of those hit, by the way. But guess who I picked to win? I picked Arkansas. So I'm not bitter, but I'm bitter.
So Jason, you won your bet though, right? Your shekels are coming back 30 times, right?
Wait, what did you say?
Your Texas Tech bet, because you bet for the second game, right?
Oh yeah, I won that one. Thank God.
Yeah.
Finally, I was sweating a little bit. I was like, son of a biscuit. And then I'm like, but then I wanted them to lose. Part of me wanted them to lose because it would have knocked a bunch of people out of that survivor pool. Let me go on that rant for a quick second. So just so y'all know, I never got any teams wrong in this survivor pool. And then I kind of had to fall on the sword because the way that it happens is every day you have to pick another team. And then, but what could eventually happen is you might run out of teams. And that's what I was that's what was about to happen. So I wanted to go with Auburn today. And then I would have picked Auburn. And then I would have had only one team left to use in the entire tournament. I already used Houston, I already used Florida. The only other teams I haven't used were Tennessee, Auburn, and Duke. And I could save Duke. I could get them into the national championship, but I couldn't go from there. So it was one of those things where I'm like, should I just wait and see? Like once I do it, then maybe someone will split or someone won't. Or should I take a shot and say that maybe Tennessee can win? And I did, and that just was a pain in the. I never didn't want to pick it. Wanted to go with Auburn. So
yeah, I had Auburn today in my survivor pool, so that was good. But the guy, there's only 2 of us left. We only had a small group, but he's in a similar situation. He doesn't have any teams left now. He can't pick. There's nobody remaining that he has available to pick, and I still have Florida. So I kind of held on to them and kind of got lucky in that way. I'm trying to bounce back and forth side to side, but that can easily happen. All it takes is one team to get eliminated that you're depending on down the road, and it's like, oh, what do I do now? Got to take a flyer on somebody and hope that they pull off the upset so I have somebody left.
Yeah, I mean, there were still 200 and some people left in this one. So it's like trying to navigate down to it. It was a little risky. So, but had to give it a shot. Oh, my. So you guys want to talk some O's, hon? Yeah.
How about them O's? Yeah, let's do that.
Opening day has come and gone, and we are in full swing. Mike points to his Orioles hat. O's are 2-2, start off season. Hey, I'll take it. Whatever. You go up to Canada. You have 4 games. You split it. That's fine. Whatever. Um, what is so far, Mike? What are your feelings? What are you noticing that you didn't expect? What are your thoughts?
I have one good and one bad. How about that? So the one I'm excited about is the way the bats are firing without Gunner in the lineup. So seeing guys like Westberg and guys like Adley and even Tyler O'Neill, O'Hearn to a certain extent, those guys all stepping up in the lineup and delivering at different times. That was encouraging because I think that was the one thing I was super worried about without having that rock in the middle of your lineup. Well, even if he's a leadoff, he's a middle of the order bat. So I was worried about that. So that's my encouragement. I'm scared of who's going to pitch all these innings, because our starters aren't going deep into games. It doesn't seem like we've built this rotation up in the spring to pitch more than 5 innings, and then all these bullpen guys are out of options. So what are you going to do when you need to bring somebody up? Are you sending Povich down? I mean, it's like we are in a conundrum, and we're going to run into it. You're going to have to find a way to get Gibson on the roster at some point, probably to eat some innings. You're going to have Gunner come back up, so you're going to have to make a corresponding roster move there. I know we had our big fella Suarez go down, and he's on a little bit of an injury stint here. But you're going to have to make some roster moves, and there's not a lot of space to wiggle.
Yeah, and it's to me, I'm wondering. You guys know I've been pounding the desk all the last 2 or 3 months about how they're not touching anyone injury-wise. I'm wondering if this is going into how they're stretching guys out. And are you noticing at all, John and Mike, about how these guys, they're bringing everyone around, like you said, Mike, they didn't stretch anyone out in the spring. Are they intentionally doing this? Are they worried about the one thing about the Orioles is, and good or bad or indifferent, however you feel, they do think that they're the smartest people in the room. But if you were at that level in professional sports, you're supposed to think you're the smartest person in the room. So they're going to do things the way they want to do things. And in my eyes, maybe they've slowed everything down. And they said, look, we're going to have an extended spring training for all of April. And we're going to get these guys stretched out. We're not going to rush them in. And that's what's basically happening. Now, what that does to your bullpen, though, is your bullpen, those guys are still pitching only 1 or 2 innings. So they don't have to go farther than that. They're already stretched out. John, I mean, what do you think? That to me could be what's happening here.
I had the same thought about that as well. As I think they're, as I watched, they're trying to get their starters through 5 innings with, medium pitch count, 70, 75, 80 pitches. And then they're trying to get to the bullpen. And it just seems like that's their. I was commenting on some Orioles thing on Facebook, and that's what I had said. I had said something to the effect of, it seems like they're just kind of getting them to go 5 innings and then trying to figure it out because what's his face left with some cramping and stuff the other day.
Sagano in his hand.
In his hand, yeah. And I'm going to go back to this. I think the baseball, Major League Baseball, has some issues, and I think it's just different than the ball he's used to in Japan. So it's going to take him a little while to get used to the ball. But I think it's a very, if we can put up 12 runs a game, if we can put up 7, 8 runs every game, I don't care if my starters are going 5 innings and we're going to the bullpen this time of year. My hope is that by July, our guys in the rotation, barring injury, are going 6, 7 innings, and then we can get to the back of the bullpen where King Felix looks pretty good back there. He struck out the side the other day, so we'll have to see.
And I get what you're saying, and I agree that the way that you want to have your season set up is you want to peak in the mid-summer months towards the end of the season. But Mike, because of the drought that they went through last year, if they didn't have such a great April and May and a pretty good June, they wouldn't have made it to the playoffs.
No, yeah. So I think consistency is what you're looking for, right? So yeah, we can hit home runs in batches, but I'd like us to see instead of seeing us score 9 runs a game and then 1 run a game, can we just score 6 every game? You know what I'm saying? You're going to win way more games if you can do that than if you're trying to bash the heck out of the ball one game and can't sniff a pitch the next game. So to see them level out a little bit and be a little more consistent would be great. Yeah, of course it's fun to see them hit 6 home runs on opening day, a couple guys with multi-home run games. That's exciting baseball. But the fact of the matter is, I would have loved to have stored some of those runs for games later in the year and used them as we were scoring our 11th run or whatever that day. I'm like, can we just have a couple of these for next time? And darned if we didn't need them today in a 3-1 loss. So it's like you look at those things. Yeah, they tend to level out over the course of the season. I'm not super worried, I would say, but you want consistency. So if you're looking at our lineup right now, you know, Rushman's hitting 313. He's OPS of over 1,000. You know, that's good. O'Hearn's hitting 400, over 1,000 OPS. Mullins is 313, over 1,000 OPS. And Urias is 364. So you got guys who are hitting the ball. Calder's not hitting the ball super well. And I think he got banged up sliding into first base head first today at the end of the game. That's a little bit concerning because that's hardly ever a good idea, because that's what happens usually is you jam your hand and you're not wearing that sliding glove because you're hitting before you run to first base. So probably even a worse idea. But, you know, back to the fact of the matter is 300 is pretty good. Early on, it's hard to tell with such a small sample size.
Yeah, and it's funny because obviously you want to hope that come September 15th, September 20th, you look back and who cares what happened against Chris Bassett, the 4th game of the year, where you only scored 1 run and you left, double digits on base or something like that today. I mean, you don't care. However, like you said, Mike, there are some things to me that like leaving guys on base like that. And I get that it's still early. The whole Cowser move like that. Like I was always was taught and continue to teach kids. The only time you would ever even consider diving into first base is if you see the first baseman leave their feet. If you see the first baseman leave their feet, then you can dive into first base if it's going to be a close play, because you know that they are going to come down with a swipe tag or something. That is the only time you will ever slide at first base. It's never a good idea. But off of that soapbox, to me, one of the things that stand out is, Jorge Mateo should not be playing against right-handed pitchers. And I know that something went on with Westberg today. I don't know if he was hurt, if he was sick. I don't know if you guys heard anything, or he just needed a break. But whatever the case may be, he didn't start, so Mateo did. I don't want to see Mateo against any right-handed players, John, or pitchers.
Yeah, I don't either. I just looking at the stats and watching it, I don't know if he just doesn't see the ball well or what the case might be. But I mean, we got to figure something else out. But then my other question is Holiday struck out 7 times. Is that a concern for anybody? Because that's what happened last year in his first stint. Was he was just clearly overmatched with the off speed away. They would jam him with the fastball on 0-0-0-1, and then 0-2 they would go away with something soft, and he couldn't touch it. And granted, he hit that huge home run. What I think was like 429 feet or something. I don't know how many centimeters that was in Canada, but that was a pretty it was a pretty good blast. But I mean, the 7 strikeouts to me is a little bit concerning.
I mean, he's also walked a few times too. I think he walked again today, essentially. And I know he walked a couple times so far this year. I mean, I'm not concerned with
one walk.
I'm not concerned with that at all. I'm really not. Last year, I think Cowser had almost a 30% whiff rate. I mean, that's going to happen with some of these young guys. Holiday, if you've looked, has pretty much it's like he's selling out for power. He's not going to be a punch and Judy hitter. He's not going to be a take a shorter swing when he's down on the count. He's still going to swing for the fences. And that's just how it is, Mike. I don't know. You kind of have to take the good with the bad. But, I mean, I've already seen a completely different approach for him this year than he did last year. He looked so far overwhelmed last year. This year, I don't feel like he's in that situation again.
No, I don't think he looks overwhelmed. I'm not super happy about the strikeouts. He has 7. I think Kowser has 6. My biggest issue is those are the 2 guys I'd love to see at the top of the lineup, but you can't put guys like that at the top of the lineup. And I know they had Kowser up at the top of the lineup, but like you said, a 30% whiff rate isn't going to do it for your leadoff hitter. So I know they want Gunnar back, but that was, and I don't know if you remember, I talked about this in the offseason when we're talking, like, I want to see a guy who can get on base consistently. Just a different kind of player, because we have so many of those guys with the mentality of, like you said, I'm going to swing for the fences. I'm not shortening my swing with 2 strikes. I'm not really looking to go opposite field and just punch a base hit, where we need those things. And the other thing is we need those things in situational hitting, where you need to move a runner over or you need a sacrifice fly. And when you can't control your bat because all you do is swing for the fences, you're not in a game like today where you have so many runners left on base. You can squeeze out another run or 2 if you can move a runner over in a particular situation or get a sac fly. And then you're looking maybe at a tie game and then never know what happens from there.
Well, and I don't know if we talked about this on here or not. I don't know if it was here or somewhere I heard this, that there was somebody talk about how fast Holiday actually is and how much you want him on base just because he can be on second base on the first move. And then, you have a runner on second base with nobody out, and you have a heck of a lot better chance to score that run than, obviously, if he strikes out, obviously, I mean, it's not anything, but getting him on base and letting him run is something that could be huge to the Orioles' advantage. So that's kind of why I'm looking at watching Holiday swing, and I'm like, young man, when you're down, put the ball in play, let your speed, let your other assets. I know you put on muscle and you're, jacked and you're hitting 430-foot home runs, but young man, please just get on base, score some runs for us, and the rest will come.
Some of this has changed too over like the way that organizations approach things, because it used to be like you shorten up your swing and you just try to put the ball in play. Unfortunately, a lot of shouldn't say unfortunately, but organizations have said we'll rather have you strike out than hit into a double play. And I think the Orioles last year hitting the least amount of double plays, and I think in a historic clip. I saw this the other day, and I have to confirm it. I'll do it for the next show. But I'm pretty sure they hit the least amount of double plays last year in Major League Baseball history. So, but they also struck out a crap ton, which is also frustrating in a different manner. But yeah, Mike, just to kind of counteract what you said, I don't want Kowser in the leadoff spot. I could see why they're doing it, but maybe Westberg, but then Westberg seems like he's much better with guys on base. He's hitting the crap out of the ball. Maybe put Mullins up there. I don't know, but I don't know. I mean, 30% strike rate. Oh boy. That's the one that sticks out to me again. I thought he would be correcting that. I didn't think that would be the thing, Mike, again for this year, but who knows?
Yeah.
We'll tell.
Who else can go there? I mean, Westy's an interesting suggestion. He's faster, like you said, he's faster than he looks. And if he gets on base, why not? Adley, I heard, has been batted around. He doesn't have that speed you're really looking for at the top of the lineup. But if you're looking at somebody get on base, he could likely give you that. But we don't have that prototypical leadoff guy. Honestly, if it could be Jackson Holiday, if he could just get on base a little more. I love the speed that he has. And Seti just has, if he can hit like he's hitting right now, he's a decent option too. And maybe you play it righty lefty a little bit like they did last year. We'll see.
Hey, Jason. Jason, I can confirm what you just said. The 2024 Orioles 71 is the lowest full season total in the history of Major League Baseball, hitting into double plays. No team hit into that few double plays when they played 154 games. And no team hit into that few double plays when they all wore wool pants. No team except the 1945 St. Louis Cardinals has hit less than 75 double plays.
I'm pretty sure Cal Ripken hitting the 70 double plays a year by himself.
Yeah. I don't think they relied on him to run fast.
That's crazy, though. Yeah. So, I mean, there is something to be said for that. Striking out is annoying, but hitting into double plays is huge. It's a
Annoying
huge
her.
annoyinger. Well done, John.
It's Jim Rice hitting to 36 double plays in one season
Holy
in
cow.
1984. He holds the record.
Wow.
Well, Jason, like to go with what you were just saying, like when I was playing, even up through college, there it was to put the bat on the ball, put the ball in play, make a mistake, move runners around, blah blah blah. But now, as I talk to like high level baseball people, they're like, yeah, they don't teach that anymore. They're like, just swing as hard as you want, and if you hit 1 in 10 over the fence, that's good enough. If you strike out 9 out of 10, but that one time you hit the ball 450 feet, we're happy with that.
Right. It's how much damage can you cause by your contact with the baseball? And that is actually that, and elevating the baseball, doing stuff that's what the game has now changed to. And I mean, there's something to be said for that. I think the best thing to do with whenever you have things like that, making contact and then hitting, like selling out for as hard as you can, you want to have that middle ground. You don't want to go too far on one or too far on the other, because 30% strikeouts with 4 or 5 guys on a team leads you to lose a lot of baseball games. That I can promise you. So I guess that brings us to where are we at here? Is anybody paying attention? My phone just died, so I don't even know what we're doing. I think that
So,
I think
so,
next we're going to talk about the
so,
ratings.
Mike, I got a question. I got a question for Mike. I want to know sincerely, how is this fantasy baseball going? Is it like taking over your life and forsaking your wife and your children? Are you becoming that involved in this, or is it still kind of, hey, my phone goes off once in a while, and if I lose 100 shekels betting on my fantasy team for the year, I can live with that.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it until today when we said we were going to talk about it during this segment, which I kind of figured that. And I was like, when I got into it, I'm like, I'll just give it a shot. Maybe I'll pay better attention. I'm not paying any attention. I was going to ask Jason a couple questions, but he vacated his seat and ran away somewhere.
No, he's here.
but-
Jason's here.
Oh, he's
Hi.
back.
Hi.
No, I just I'm down by like 100 points in the first week. I'm getting my butt kicked. I've got guys with like -5 points. Apparently, they strike out too much. It's not good. And I was looking at the waiver wire, and I'm thinking like, do I jump now? Is it too soon, or do I start picking people up? Like some of these guys, like I think there was like a first baseman for the Cubs who was doing really well. Do I want to go after this guy, or do I just let it ride? Jason, I'm getting thumped this week. Give me some advice. Talk me off the ledge.
Well, how many pitchers did you have going this week? Did you have a lot of pitchers pitch this week?
Isn't everybody supposed to pitch? I don't know. I had a bunch of pitchers.
So the key to this head-to-head stuff is that you want to have guys that don't strike out as you don't want guys that strike out a lot. If you do, you want. So this goes back to my conversation I just had a minute ago. If you're going to strike out a lot, you better also hit the crap out of the ball over the fence too. So
yeah. So I had I had Sasaki.
Okay.
And Bryce Miller, Jack Flaherty, Taj Bradley, and Yamamoto as my starters.
Okay.
And they pitched. And then I had 3 relievers, one of which didn't register hardly anything points-wise. I had Raisel Iglesias from Atlanta. I had Felix Bautista, who pitched once, had a couple strikeouts. And then I had Kyle Finnegan from Washington.
Okay. So the only issue there is that I don't think Iglesias had any saves this week.
No.
Bautista did not have any saves this week. So you're not getting any points for saves there, which is a huge category. So if you're playing that relief pitcher game, you want to try again. I said this a couple weeks ago. If you could get a pitcher that is a relief pitcher that is also a starting pitcher, you want to put that guy in your relief pitching area. Like Clay Holmes still registers as a relief pitcher. So I drafted him and I put him in there, but he's actually a starter. So he's going to give me extra points that way.
That seems shady to me. Like, so we're really trying to find the loophole in the game so that we can get more innings. You're not trying to find the best reliever and best starter. You're trying to find the way to win the game itself versus picking the best players. Also, I could have used that advice before I drafted.
I told you that.
It was after I drafted. You told me that.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Oops. Sorry. But I mean, I did tell you about the guys that strike out a lot. Like
Yeah, you did.
Guys that like for me, I had Jordan Westberg, and I mean, I think he scored 15 or 16 points this week. That's great. Tyler O'Neill, if you would have had him, he's actually a free agent.
He is a free agent.
Yeah, I mean, it might be if you don't have guys, if you have a guy that you want to drop, he might be one to pick up. I had him all last year. And I mean, he had, when he was healthy, I mean, I'd have some games where he'd give me 15 points. So, because he hits the ball over the fence a lot. So, I mean, just find guys that are going to play a lot and that aren't going to strike out a whole lot. And then with pitching, you want guys that are going to pitch a lot of innings, starting pitchers, because you get a lot of points that way.
Well, Wilson Contreras had -5 points. I don't like that.
That's an anomaly, by the way. So don't worry about that.
And so this Brenton Doyle fella was like -6. And Jackson Churio was negative as well. I had a lot of negative. Right. I don't like the negativity on my roster. I think I need to find guys with a positive attitude.
Right. But see, Jackson Churio also is a guy that if you wouldn't have kept him, he would have gone in the second round, right? Early in the second round. So he's going to come around and be just fine. So a lot of this stuff right away, you kind of have to, you're going to put up a couple duds, just like in fantasy football. You know, you're going to have a week where guys should have done something, and then instead they don't give the ball to Derrick Henry, and he ends up with 60 yards, no touchdown, you know. But I mean, that's going to happen every once in a while. But no, just stay the course, you know, just like play the waiver wire game where you want to try to find pitchers that are going to pitch and that are going to put up, because there's a lot of points that come through pitching. It's why I kept 2 pitchers. But you also want hitters, and you want good hitters. I think I have I don't know if it's this league or not, but Rodriguez from Seattle. And I think he has negative points on the year, and he's freaking a second round pick. So it just happens. You just have to be patient.
I will be patient then, my friend, and I will see what happens. What is a good score for a week in this league?
So it sounds like anywhere. I think my points are like 140. I just beat the guy by a few points this week. Anywhere between like 140 and 160, I think, is going to win each week.
So I scored 146 points and lost to someone who scored 244 points.
They had a very good week. Very good week. You had a good week. 140 points. I mean, dude, stay the course.
That's all right. All right, I'm off the ledge then. I had a good week. Jason said. I'm good.
Yeah. But now tomorrow, so your lineup locks tomorrow evening. So
I'm over here reading Don't Kill Myself books, and you are telling me I had a good week.
You said it wasn't your book. You said it wasn't yours. I glanced at it.
I just took a glance at it.
So I would so tomorrow, set your lineup for the week, because again, it'll lock tomorrow. And you
by what time? What time tomorrow?
Evening. So like I'd say change it by 4. Don't go any past 4 if you can help it. And just know that the guys you're going to put in, you have them all week. You can't change them.
Okay.
Cool. John, are you with us, or did you fall back asleep?
Yeah, I guess I can't wait to move to this new house. I have my own office with an L-shaped desk and a nice chair and double monitors and everything I could ever want. But I also can get.
What do you have now? Like a Q-shaped
desk? Yeah, I have I have an island in the kitchen with my mic attached to the island in the kitchen, and
that's cute.
And so I'm gonna put up like pillows to make the walls soundproof and make it like an actual studio so that the sound quality is better for our audience. But Jason, I wanted to ask you this, and I wanted to ask our audience this: would you guys be interested in having a Dad Bod's Crab Cakes and Sports Fantasy Football League that we each put a few shekels in and we play with our listeners?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm in. That I know a little more about.
I'm
That's
only in
easier.
16
We're about
leagues.
3
Why
days
not
a
one
week.
more?
Jess has got to sell 5 more houses for all of your fantasy football leagues.
Oh, don't you worry. Daddy brings in the bacon and the football. We don't have to worry about that.
That's what Venmo is for.
That's
I think
right.
you just have a little Venmo account, and there's some things in there, and then it's just the Venmo.
But if there's no money in the Venmo account, then you have an issue.
Well, you have to find a source of Venmo income,
Oh, okay.
That's right.
like fantasy football wins and things like that.
Yeah, I guess so. That would make sense.
Or your sister pays her phone bill to you and your Venmo every month, whatever.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Yeah, and then
She's
just
still doing it for you, Mike.
I get her payment every month into my Venmo. Yes, it works well.
There you go.
That's a great way to do it because, like on Verizon, like it's $25 if you have 4 lines, but if you only have 2 lines, it's like $80. So why not just find 2 friends and have them Venmo you the $50? Then there's your gambling money, Mike.
Yeah, nobody's watching this, right? So they don't know. They're not. There's a 0 on our eyeball, so we're okay, right?
Yeah, that's what it says. So, and our 2 listeners are both Lutheran pastors, so I'm sure they don't gamble at all.
No, not at all.
Right, Paul?
No, gosh.
So,
all right.
Jason, did you get your phone charged so you can see what else we wanted to talk about?
I did. I know what we're doing now. Hey, listen, do we want to do the Ravens position preview tonight, or do we want to keep that till next week? You guys tell me.
Let's wait till Wednesday. Let's move on to Blast from the Past because I think Mike has to teach in the morning, and he doesn't have a TV to entertain his students with any longer.
I have a student teacher right now, so it's kind of air quotes with the teaching, but yeah, I'm there.
Fabulous. All right. Well, who wants to go first?
Well, Jason, why don't you explain it? You're usually the one who explains Blast from the Past the best. When I try to explain it, you always stop me and then say, "No, hang on," and then you go and explain it yourself.
Let me explain it to the 1.5 listeners that are still listening. Yeah, so our Blast from the Past, again, is where we play a little trivia game amongst the 3 of us, where we try to guess which player may or may not have played with the Orioles back in the day. We might have forgot he played there, may have had a big impact, a small impact, but it's players that we could not remember that actually played for the Orioles. I am awesome at this game. The rest of you are just below me. And is that about right? No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
It is. You guys have to remember, I haven't lived in Baltimore since the year 2000.
Yeah,
and
but you're still an Orioles fan.
I am, but I haven't been able to read.
That sounds like a cop out to me. I'm just going to own my ignorance.
Oh, stop it, Michael.
Well, Mike, you deal with what 14 to 18-year-olds every day, like 500 of them. So your brain kind of goes to mush after a short amount of time.
There's a lot of names to memorize, which is why I also had a very limited list of names that I could use when I had children.
That's right.
That's what my dad said. He said there's so many children with just terrible attitudes, and my names went from many to few.
He must have had a good John somewhere along the way.
Yeah,
or he really liked his toilet.
Haven't we all?
One or the other.
His father,
Nice.
All right.
So, all right. Do you want me to go? You going, John? What do you got?
You start, Jason. You've never started. It's usually Mike or I.
No, I've started, but I'll go again.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, let's go.
So this guy played in the majors for 15 years. He played for the Cardinals, the Pirates, the Orioles, and the Phillies. He's an outfielder. He's a 3-time All-Star. He played for the Orioles in 1995. He is a 5-time Gold Glove Award winner. And he finished in the MVP voting twice. He finished 4th in the MVP voting. He is most notably known. Actually, let me hold off on that one for a minute. I'll give you guys a
Position? You said outfield?
center field most of his career.
You said Cardinals, Pirates, Orioles, and Phillies.
Correct.
And what year was he here? 98?
95.
95.
95.
His last year in baseball was 1995. He split. He was with us in 95, but only played 17 games with us. Started the year, only played 17 games, and then finished the year with the Phillies and his career. Stumped? Need another clue?
Yeah, keep them coming.
Okay. Most notably known as a member of the Pittsburgh Pirates 91 and 92 playoff teams with Jim Leyland, Barry Bonds,
No.
gosh, who was that?
and what's his face? And Bonilla, those guys.
Yeah, I got it in my head. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Hold on. It flashed and it left.
Yeah. It's not Kevin. It's not Kevin Bass.
He was on the team in 95, by the way.
Yes, Kevin Bass was.
Oh, man.
Oh, I'm trying to, but Kevin Bass played for the Mets. I don't think he played for the Phillies.
It's not Kevin Bass. Just so you know.
Yeah.
It is not Marty Bass.
I'm picturing the guy. I'm pretty sure.
I'm running out of clues, fellas.
Yeah, I don't.
What does it rhyme with, Jason?
Oh, Lord, really?
I'm just kidding. Does it
Well,
rhyme with Spabi Papshia? No, kidding.
No. Although he did play with the Orioles in 95, but also 96.
Not Andy Van Slyke, right?
It is Andy Van Slyke.
Is it Andy Van Slyke?
Andy-
All right.
Andy Van Slyke. I forgot about that. Or I didn't even
I
know
just
that.
not remembered his name. Man.
All right, Mike. That was a good
I
guess.
got one. Yeah, how about that? All right. My Oriole played for the Orioles in 1998. And he spent most of his major league career with the White Sox, but also played with the Orioles, Braves, and Rays. He was the AL Rookie of the Year in 1985. Also, unrelated, but kind of related, honestly, in 2005, he was the AL Manager of the Year.
How's he again?
How's it again?
Yeah, I knew that would get it going.
Okay. All right. So here's mine. So he played for the Braves, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Chi Sox, the Royals, the Tigers, and then he finished up with the Orioles in 2012 and 2013. He was a switch hitter. He threw right-handed, and he played third base. He was a career 267 hitter with 75 home runs and 283 runs batted in. He broke in with the Braves in 2001, and then he was let go from the Orioles in 2013 and did not sign again. He was signed as an undrafted free agent out of the Dominican Republic by the Atlanta Braves when he was 14 and a half years old.
Oh, man.
But as you both know, what is the age that a team can sign a non-American or
16.
Canadian-born player? 16.
16.
So because of the rule violation, the Braves were fined $100,000 and prohibited from scouting and signing players in the Dominican Republic for 6 months in 2000.
Oh, I remember that. Oh, crap. Who was it?
His
Give
name?
Give me the teams again.
Braves, Dodgers, Yankees, Chi Sox, Royals, Tigers, and Orioles.
And what year he was in Baltimore?
2000. He didn't play many games. 2012 and 2013. He did sign with the Rays as a minor league invite, but then was promptly suspended for PEDs.
He was a third
Then he-
baseman.
Yes, and he played in Mexico. Then he was the hitting coach for the Royals rookie league team, and this year he's the hitting coach for the ACL Royals, the rookie league affiliate. His name is pronounced in two different ways.
Oh my God.
When he was with the Orioles, he signed a 2-year deal with the option for a 3rd year. He was carried off in a stretcher during a spring training game against the Boston Red Sox in 2013.
Oh my gosh.
He started a rehab assignment and then was put back on the 60-day DL. He was designated for assignment immediately after getting off the 60-day DL and was released September 24th, 2013.
See, I remember.
What does
I'm stuck on
his
the
name
Braves.
rhyme with? No kidding.
Let me see. Would you like the number 1 or number 2 pronunciation?
Wait, no, I know who it is.
Jason, help talk us through it.
Oh, he's left-handed, I think. Did you say he's left-handed?
No, he's a switch hitter.
Oh, fuck me. Oh,
All right, we're gonna put a flag on this episode, Jason.
oh no. Is there
Yeah,
another
so
clue? Because
I
No.
know it wasn't Chipper Jones. I know it wasn't
It's-
Chipper Jones. But he played third base for the Braves.
So here's a funny thing. In the 2006 interview, Braves announcer Joe Simpson relayed that he had asked this individual about halfway through the season how to pronounce his name. And when he answered, he apologized, saying, I've been pronouncing your name wrong all the time, but I'm going to pronounce it right now.
see,
And this player had 2 different birthdays in 2 different years in his profile. In
So
his
the guy
major
I
league
was
profile.
I swear the guy I was thinking of is a left-hander, but I'm going to guess. It's not Wilson Benjamin, is it?
Yeah, it is.
I thought he was left-handed. He's not a
He's
switch hitter, was he?
switch hitter. It says switch hitter. It's Bay-to-me. Bay-to-me is how you're supposed to pronounce his name, not Betterment.
See, that's why I didn't
Bay-to-me.
guess him. That's why I didn't guess it, because I was like, I swear this guy's a lefty.
Well,
Okay,
it's for the betterment of us all that we figured that out, right?
It only took 5 hours of the show. Like that was longer.
And
than
Jason said a
NBA.
bad word because he was angry about it. This was a flavorful episode, boys.
Yes. And there's some good clues on Wikipedia about these different players. You know?
Oh, I'm glad to hear you're getting your information from Wikipedia. I'm sure he's officially a switch hitter.
Yeah,
No, I'm
exactly.
kidding.
Thank you.
Well, I clicked on it and it said in his major league profile he was a switch hitter. But
Oh, good. You went to the extra level.
But remember, under some of Cedric Mullins' stuff, it says a switch hitter because he was a switch hitter up until I think 4 years ago. So,
You know what else? You know what else threw me off too? He didn't play third. Okay. They had to bring up Manny Machado at 14 years old to play third base because he sucks so bad.
right. No, that was when he went back on the disabled list after he got carried off on a stretcher.
Right. Oh my goodness. No, I like Wilson. Wilson had a couple big hits for the Orioles in 2012. It was a great year.
That was a good year.
Yeah,
year
'cause
being a O's fan.
Again, like Danny Almonte, they don't know what his age is.
Oh, that's so funny. All right. Well, it's been fabulous. I cussed. Sorry.
Go to confession.
All right. Goodness gracious.
While Jason hits the confessional, I'm going to wrap this baby up. So thanks for joining us tonight for this episode of Dad Bods, Crab Cakes, and Sports. We appreciate hanging with you this evening. Don't forget to subscribe on Red Circle, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And while you're at it, leave us a review. It really helps us out. We're trying to spread the good word about Baltimore sports far and wide. Be sure to follow us on social media for more behind-the-scenes action, memes, and bad sports takes. You can find us at dadbods_crabcakes_sports on Instagram and at dadbods, crab cakes, and sports on our Facebook page. If you have a question or topic you want us to cover, hit us up at dadbodscrabcakesandsports@gmail.com. And you never know, we might just shout you out on the next episode. Until then, keep rocking those dad bods, eating those crab cakes, and never miss the bleeping game.
All right, adios.
Thanks so